Hi, I'm Sunny, and this is my podcast, Creator, Created, Creating. Short and sweet mindset shifts for intentional life creation. Good morning, dears. Today I want to talk about there is no competition. So this is a mindset that I have adopted a long time ago for myself, actually. And I've been, in a process of learning and embodying that more and more over all that time. But many, many years ago in my business, in my design business, I started with that mindset that I had no competition. I just adopted and embodied the mindset. I decided that there was no competition for me. That what I offered and what I had was valuable and unique, and there was absolutely no competition for that. That I am the only one in this world who can offer that in exactly the way that I do, and the style that I do, and the essence that I do, and the energy that I do, and every single thing that is said, seen, or unseen, and a lot of it is unseen, is unrepeatable, because every single being is absolutely unique and unrepeatable. And I believe that this is a friendly universe and that there is infinite abundance available to all beings, even though, so my spirit knows that, my soul knows that, my higher consciousness knows that, but my mind does not know that. My survival mind does not know that. Of course not. So it says its stuff, and I honor that because that's my human part and it's my survival part, and it wants to make sure I'm safe. So I have learned to honor that, listen to that, take care of whatever needs to be done around that, while still holding my space in my deeper knowing, higher knowing, that is only a microscopic fraction of the truth, what my mind knows. And that there is so much more than that available to me and every single being. So I have done my best to embody that and to know that there is no competition, no matter what reality shows me that seems like evidence to the opposite of that. In other words, that seems like there is a ton of competition, and that seems like I really have to guard myself against that, and I really have to watch that and fight against that and defend against that and protect myself and compete and all this. So there is a part of me that still believes that, and there is another part of me that absolutely does not. And so what I do is I've intentionally decided to feed the part of me that knows that I do not need to do that ever. And so that has applied even when people have outright stolen my designs, come to work with me, and then I see them exactly copying things that I've done and things like that. I just consider that no threat to me. Even though my mind says, this is a threat to me. My heart and soul, I come back to my center, to my knowing, my deeper knowing, that there is no threat to me. That nobody and nothing can take away my good and my safety and my security and my unconditional love. Now that can look like that's happening, and that can seem to be happening, but I choose to know, and this is a choice that I'm making. I choose to know I will always be okay. I choose to know I will always be held. I choose to know nothing can be taken from me and that my good will always be with me and find me no matter what happens. So I didn't let that ever throw me off track when that would happen. And also, I take full responsibility and understand how that happens. The way that I see it is that, okay, so like artists, for example, any kind of artists, writers, visual artists, any kind of creators or artists, you will know this, that we are inspired by things we see. And we create from that inspiration. We're inspired. We borrow things from what we see, and then we kind of make it our own. It becomes a new iteration simply because it has come through us. So there is no and can be no exact copy of my work ever, even if it's an exact copy, because it's not my energy. It's not my beingness there. They can never copy that. They can never take that. They can never steal what I am. And I just know that. And I also know as an artist and as a creative that we are inspired by and create from other people's work. And that has been going on since the beginning of time. And it is the natural order of things to take what has been done and to make it your own iteration, and on and on and on and on and on. So I know that that's the truth too. So I don't blame them because I do that too. We all do that. We all do that in our own ways. We even do that when we're not artists and creatives. We see somebody else and how they're doing business and we go, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I want to do something like that too. And then you take it, but then you make it your own because you're not an exact copy of that person in that way. So you will be inspired by it, and then you will take it, and then you will make it your own. We do that with even personality types. So I might see somebody and I'm really inspired by that person and I just think, oh, I just love that person because there's something about that person that I don't have a lot of that I want to embody, and that person has that medicine. So I'm like, ooh, that person is very airy and light. I want to embody some of that energy. I want to have some more of that in my life. And so you take some of that in, you use them as inspiration, and you make that your own. This is what we do because we are one. We are one, and yet we're expressing as individual beings. So we borrow these energies and we use these energies and we make them our own. So that's another aspect of how I don't believe in competition. On top of just my deep, innate trust that I will always be held and provided for and safe and in rest and unconditional love of the life that created this body and the life that I am. So I don't waste any energy looking at competition and worrying about that's going to be taken away. And that has also shown up in, let's say, for example, many times over the years. So I used to do just web design, and there came many times when all these tools started coming out that were like, make your own website. So I did web design before there was any make your own website stuff. You had to hire somebody back in the day when I was doing that. And you had to hire somebody. And then they came out with all these tools that would do it for you. And like everybody started freaking out, and my survival mind started freaking out. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. There's going to be nothing for me to do. I'm going to lose my livelihood and everything. I'm effed, right? It's like now with AI, and people are terrified that it's going to take all the jobs. And it was the same thing then. So there was software that was coming out that's basically replacing my job. Everybody's like, yeah, this does it for you and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, wow. So there was a part of me that was freaking out about that. But I chose to know that I would always be okay and I would always be held, and there would be no replacement for what and who I am and what I can do. And also that there will never be a time when I will not be okay. So I just embodied that as much as humanly possible and honored the human part of me that was freaking out too, and did what I could for that part of me to help that part of me feel safe. And what ended up happening was all these tools came out. Yes, they all came out, and there's about 1 billion of them now, and it's just getting easier and easier and easier. But I didn't let that stop me one bit. And what ended up happening was those tools only work when there's actually a good eye behind them, and there's still a ton of work to do, people found out. Even though these websites look beautiful out of the box with one click, no, it still is like hours of customizing and hours of doing all of this and that. But what happened was I didn't even have to do all those hours and hours of things or do any of that, because what I did was just shift into art direction and design and just let the tools make the build way easier. And then eventually I hired someone to do all the coding and build, so I never had to do that ever again. And now, no matter what happens with that in the future, then I will just shift into the next easier thing, because that's what I've decided is going to happen for me. It's only going to get better and easier for me because that's what I've decided that I want to happen. And if I just trust, and when it gets real rocky and it's looking like the absolute opposite, and it's looking like it's going to get really hard, and it's looking like I'm going to lose everything, I just stay in my trust as much as possible. I do what I need to do for my body so my body can relax and feel at ease, no matter what. So different somatic practices, therapies, or just toolbox of tools. I apply those things so my body can feel safe, and I just trust that this is for my good. This is helping me move to something better. And every single time that has proved to be true. Every single time. So now what ended up happening was, instead of losing everything like my mind was saying, I just actually got to do more and more of what I really loved, less and less of what I didn't care to do at all, and just set me free in brand new ways that I never, ever expected, and led me into this work, which I cherish and love with all of my heart. Now, that doesn't mean that it didn't hurt when, say, for example, I saw a company once take an entire website that I did and built and just put their own name on it. So they didn't even just copy it. They just literally took it and put their own name on it and took credit for the design so that they could get business based on that design. That doesn't mean it didn't hurt. And that doesn't mean that I didn't send an email asking them to remove that credit and put the credit back that was originally on there. But when they didn't comply, I let it go. I let it go because I cannot afford to be leaking energy in fight. I do not choose to fight. I choose to know that I will always be taken care of. I will always be shown the way, and I will always know what to do next and be given the right answers of what to do next, and that nothing that belongs to me can truly be taken from me ever. And again, that is a choice. I choose to see it that way. I choose to operate that way. I choose to believe that because it serves me. It serves me in that I spend no time in fighting what is, and I just trust in life and trust in myself and know that it's going to be okay. And so I say that because some people might enjoy and need the idea of competition. They might actually love competition and thrive off of competition, like, in sports and stuff like that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a personal choice. So some people may thrive on the idea of competition. It may light a fire in them that they need. And like the mechanics of their soul and the way that that works might really need that kind of a jolt of inspiration that gives them the passion, and they might really thrive that way. So this is not a judgment on that. I'm just sharing my personal view and my personal choice, in case it's something that resonates with you and that you also believe or that you wish to adopt. Because, my belief does not mean that competition doesn't exist. It just means that, again, I don't choose to put any of my energy into that whatsoever. I choose to know and lean into the fact that I am unconditionally loved and held by life, no matter what. So, that just kind of brings me to the AI stuff recently, because of what I've gone through in the past with softwares coming out and replacing my own work that I thought I would have no place to go from. And it's my position, it's my personal position, that AI cannot and will not replace humans ever. And that it's just going to free up humans to do other things in other ways and make human life easier so that humans can begin to pursue and live their own passion and purpose more for those of us who wish to do that. And I am not saying that will not be a bumpy and sometimes painful process as we learn what we no longer need to do anymore and what we get to do instead, and see how that works and work all of that out. But you won't believe that if you believe your power is in the system. So that's why I'm saying the power of choice is absolutely key here. What you look for, you find. What you believe, you see evidence of. So it really takes your choice to see it that way. Because if you believe that your power is in the system, then you will absolutely be threatened by all these advances hugely. And of course you will. Because that's really scary when you believe you're powerless to the system. But if you believe and know and embody your own power to create with surrender and trust that you're not in control, but you do get to choose, you do get to aim, and the more that you just trust your aim and do what you can with what you have from where you are, you're going to be okay. Life is going to provide for you because you are life. And again, if you have trouble with that, see my previous episode on you will be okay no matter what, and work with adopting that belief first so that you can get through your resistance and your fears about competition, including the competition of machines and including the competition of artificial intelligence, so that you can move from a place of empowerment instead of moving from a place of fear, so that you can make decisions from a place of empowerment instead of making decisions from a place of fear, and so that you can create, visualize, aim, and most of all, more than anything else, feel into the life you want to live. Feel the feeling of the life you want to live. So you don't need to imagine what you're going to do instead if such and such happens and such and somebody steals your stuff and all of this. Instead, you just cultivate and create the feeling of safety, unconditional love, and security in your body, mind, and soul, because that will do everything else that's needed to be done for your best life automatically from that space of deep love and deep trust, because then it will just create more of that and more of that and more of that feeling, and everything that you do from that space will match that feeling. So whatever you can do from where you are to put yourself in that feeling, whenever you're feeling that there's competition. And P.S., whenever you change up your field or your direction, or you try something new, you're going to move into that old mindset of there's tons of competition. That's what happened to me. So I had worked my way into a very solid feeling, rooted feeling place of no competition in my art direction and design, but I had definitely not in this field of mentoring and teaching and sharing my writings and my voice in the world on reality creation. I had absolutely no confidence there, and I absolutely was looking at the competition because I was shakeable there. I hadn't really rooted in that, and I'm getting there. It's a work in progress. So I'm still practicing this with this every day. But the more that I know that and remind my survival brain of that, the freer I am to just do the next thing that inspires me, the next thing that lights me up, and just trust that path. Because it's not just creating a livelihood or a life, but it's creating my now moment. It's creating my experience of my life and my joy in my life and my love and happiness in my life in my now moment. So I share all of that to encourage you to do the same if that calls to you. Again, everybody operates differently in this world. Some people love competing. It fires them up and they enjoy that and it's fun. So good. But I'm trusting that if you're here, you're probably not somebody who thrives on competition, and it probably is something that takes your eye off of your own ball. But the more we keep our eye on our own ball, what we want to create, the more fulfilled and present and happy in our life we will be. All right. That's all I have to share for today. And I have an announcement to make that I am super excited about. And that is that I have created a new private podcast. I'm starting it. There's a couple of episodes in there already. There's soon to be more. And it's basically just a space where I'm going to share more personal stories, more details, more numbers. They'll still be short and sweet episodes, but it's just going to be a little bit more tools, a little bit more personal stories, because I find that I learn best by hearing people's personal stories and actual experiences. So if you want a taste of that, you can come over to that space, and it is called Creating the Uncourse. I love courses, but this is an uncourse, and I have a whole spiel about that on my website at sunnychapman.com/private pod if you want to check that out and become one of my first members. All right. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for joining me today. And if you'd like to find out more about me and my work, you can find me at sunnychapman.com.